Hey, welcome. If you're a beginner stock investor or you've been investing for years and want to improve, I'll show you how I pick stocks. I go live daily on this channel so that you can see how and what I do in real time, so that you can learn how I pick winners, avoid losers with less effort in less time. So in this video, I'll be analyzing a nuclear stock thanks to a channel viewer's comment. So choose to Stevio 00700, and it's going to be Oklo Inc. Now I'll be doing a first pass of this stock, and if it meets my criteria, it'll be back for a second pass. If not, I move on and I don't waste any more time looking into it. I've invested over 2,000 hours learning from the world's best stock investors. And when I say best, I mean with long-term verifiable track records, and they beat the market for decades. So investors like Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, Howard Marks, Seth Klarman, Peter Lynch, Joel Greenblatt, etc. So, this being the first live, we'll check out how it goes. Otherwise, let's rip straight in. I'll share my screen. All right, so all I do is I've jumped straight into Google, typed in Oklo annual reports, and jumped straight on the actual business website's first, website link that popped up. It jumped straight onto the SEC filings page from Oklo, and I can see it's broken down into 2026 and showing all types of those filings. So as I'm looking through this, I'm just pretty much looking at, looks like there's been some either purchases or some sales of the actual stock. And usually that's because of someone within the business, either a director or a major shareholder, selling a portion of the business, which they're legally required to provide an update to the market. So I'll jump into this one. We'll see what we're looking at. So relationship, CEO, director, or 10% shareholder, like I mentioned, you can see that there's going to sell. So security sold during the past 3 months. So that Jacob DeWitt and Caroline Cochrane have sold 420,000 shares, and they've netted 34 million out of those sales, plus 9 million. So what about just under $45 million? And it looks like they've done that each in the last few months. All right. So when we find a little bit later the annual report, we'll have a look into, all right. So it actually goes into, or further into last year, those sales, or the reporting of them. Let's just have a quick look. So it's another one, another substantial holder. Founder shares. All right. So it can be very important to make sure of the alignment of management. So we'll just take note of that. I want to see who those guys are. So Jacob DeWitt and Caroline in the business, to make sure that they still have significant skin in the game and that they're actually there for the long term. Especially selling out a large portion of the business like that. You've got, between yourselves, if it is between $34 million or to 80 million plus, you don't really need much more after that. All right. So what I'm looking at here is the annual report for last year. And I want to have a look around for a breakdown on the management team. All right. So the information required under this item is incorporated herein in the proxy statement. All right. So I can jump back out and have a look at that if I need to. The other thing I'll want to do, without being able to see that, really I want to see how many shares that those guys have in the business and who they are, etc. But what I want to see then is the financial statements of the business. And have a quick look at those to see what we're actually dealing with. So balance sheet, it shows the assets of the business. So total assets here, I can see that from 2023 to 2024, the latest reporting period, it's gone from 14, is it in thousands? Yep, so $14 million up to $281 million. So assets is increased. And we'll jump down. And what about liabilities? So total liabilities hasn't really increased. It's got a small decrease. So from 49 million to $30 million. So I'll scroll down, see in the balance sheet, consolidated statement of operations. Well, this is also known as the income statement. Now I want to see if it's making any money, because we want to see if they've mastered their customer and they're actually making an income, and if they're actually got to the stage of profitability. So operating expenses. So usually what's above this is the top line of the business, so the actual revenue. And I can see that there is no revenue. So this business doesn't make any money at this stage. So from there, if it's in an early startup stage, I want to make sure that the money is being used appropriately. So if it's gone from their assets have increased, I want to see kind of what's happening with that. So I can see loss from operations, 2023, go down to the net loss. So total was 32 million the previous year, and in the year just gone, 73 million. So it's increased. Where's the big changes there? Research and development, general administration has more than, or it is effectively tripled. And the loss before income tax, that just shows that line, change in fair value. Okay, so that's the majority of the costs. Let's go and have a look at the cash flow statement. Just keep scrolling until we find it. All right, so cash flows from the business. We have those net losses from the income statement that pop up here. And where's the money being spent? We want to make sure that management team, they're going to play the biggest role in whether this business makes or breaks over that time. So we can see the change in fair value of simpler agreements for future equity. Okay. Stock-based compensation. So this is in, they've either vested or the business is then put aside or been paid out $12.5 million to usually management team of the business. So that's a pretty significant cost considering the previous year it was only that. Now, where's the money come from? We got purchases of marketable debt securities. I've actually purchased that, but in cash flows for financing activities, it goes through proceeds from recapitalization, $276 million. So they've either recapitalized portion of the business, and this business isn't making any money at this stage. It's been obviously floated on the stock exchange as an IPO to effectively raise money so it can get to the stage of being profitable. But there's a big difference between creating a new product like a modular nuclear reactor system, getting it to the stage where it can be brought to market, and then getting it to the stage where that product is being used and tested in the market and it's profitable for the business. So there's a lot of things that need to go right, and this is quite a complex business in terms of the structure and rigor that they need to go through and the hoops that the business needs to go through to get their product over the line for anything nuclear. And it also has a long life cycle to bring it to market. It's not like they can just at the moment mass produce these and it literally takes a couple of weeks and then the product's out there, they've been paid for it. So at this stage for this business, I'm in the no category because it hasn't got to that stage, and there's a really big difference between a business being profitable or not. We've got time. Let's have a look at the proxy filings. And 2025. Now these can be quite lengthy. Ah, nice. Only 34 pages. I want to... Okay. So I can see Jacob DeWitt is the Chief Executive Officer. So he was one of the guys that was selling, what, $30 to $40 million worth of stock. There's the notice. I'm looking for the management. Corp executive officers, executive and director compensation, stockholders' proposals. All right, so I'm hoping it's in here. Looks like we've got the goods. Okay, so we've got Jacob DeWitt, Chief Executive Officer, and Caroline Cochran is the Chief Operating Officer. So these two were selling a significant portion or amount dollar worthy of shares. I want to see how that actually sits with how much they get paid per year and how much skin in the game they still have. So Jacob, last year, his salary was just under $500,000. Then he got a bit over $500,000 bonus. Then there's stock awards. So item 1, looks like he's been gifted $2.6 million worth of shares. And his total, I guess, income for last year was $3.6 million. And Caroline as well, she's given stock awards $1.8 million and then $2.8 million she finished the year with. Amounts reflect the aggregate grant date. So really here I'm looking for in the incentive. So why are they getting paid these or granted these stock awards, considering the business hasn't made or turned a profit yet or made any revenue? Really, a business like this, if they were the best management team they could be, they would be running this as lean as possible and not taking a cent out of the business until it's proven, and they can go from there. So amounts reflect the aggregate date, consolidated financial data, annual report file, discussion, blah, blah, blah. Number of SEUs. Okay, so amounts reflect, amounts, discretionary bonus earned by our named executive officers for their performance with respect to the fiscal year and paid in early 2025. In the following amounts, here you go. Discretionary cash bonus. So I can't see anything obvious there in terms of any description of the incentives. So let's keep going. Looks like we've found it. Annual cash bonuses are determined by our compensation committee and set at a level that is commensurate with the executive's duties and duties. Prior experience, sustained performance. Cash bonuses given to them. In addition, received a one-time discretionary cash bonus in recognition of his efforts towards legacy Oklo execution of that certain confidential letter of intent to purchase power. Okay, cool. So they've given out a discretionary cash bonus to the CEO in recognition of some efforts. Okay. Equity compensation, connection with the business. We adopted and stockholders approved the incentive plan in order to facilitate the grant of cash and equity incentives to our directors team. Blah, blah, blah. In addition, awards vest with respect to 1/12 on each quarterly anniversary. What? So if I'm reading that correctly, they're getting issued or vested portions of stock quarterly based on, the actual sum of that to be vested, that's pretty short term. Like people like some of the best management teams like Jeff Bezos and literally didn't really take anything out of the business up until the stage where it was massively profitable. All right, let's see if they've got a breakdown of current ownership splits of the business in terms of stock owned. So that's stock awards, director compensation, security ownership of certain members. Okay, so number of shares. So Jacob and Caroline own all up, both of them, 25 million shares each, which is 18.2% of the business for Jacob. So all up, 40% between them. And between all of them, these guys obviously just have a small amount for it to total that 0.5%. So these guys at the front, they've got a significant portion of the business, but effectively this business in the long term is worth nothing until it can sustainably provide enough revenue and profit to the business. Because at the end of the day, the value of the business is based on how many its future cash flows. And this business might turn a profit at some stage, but it also might not. There's a lot of things that can and might still go wrong with it. So based on that, I would be passing on this business. I wouldn't invest any more time into it. I might flag it, put in a bit of a little spreadsheet just to say, yep, I've checked this one out on this date, and that's probably about it. We'll just go through a couple of notes. So from that, we've checked out the primary sources, those annual reports. We've then gone through the proxy statements. So in that way, I'm not influenced by the hype of where this business is at. I put a lot of effort on, checking out if the management team have actually mastered their customer, because, like I said, there's a long way to go to get something to market and then get something profitable and with its customers. You can also see that the business doesn't, at this stage, have a moat, like a competitive advantage against others. It hasn't got to the stage where its intellectual property, which would be its product, a modular nuclear reactor, and bringing it to market. And the management team, yep, they do have a significant portion of skin in the game, but there's a long road ahead to get this business to actually be sustainable in the long term. So if you're interested in how I structure that and the frameworks that I use based on those other successful investors I mentioned at the start, you can check out the link in the description. It actually runs through, and there are free downloads for you to go and check those out. And if you're interested in working with me, there's a link down there as well. So I'll actually show you the stock price of this business. Share my screen again. And what are we searching for? Oklo. And what are we looking at? All right, so we can see that they've only been, after their IPO, or been marketable from 2021. And they've gone from $6 back here in maybe mid 2024, and quite a speculative jump through here. So if I was to have a look at this business, like that is up here in this region above $100 a share, is 10x in that period. So in just a year. Why? Well, it'd be based on, this isn't a stock that would be considered an investment. It would be considered a speculation. So for me, if I looked into this business further and was looking for stocks that at the time I thought would be take up a very small portion of my portfolio, and it might be like, 1% or less, and putting a bet on it. Because if it does go considerably up higher due to that speculation, then that's good. But it's not something I'm going to be betting the farm on. So if you like this kind of stuff and you want to see more of it, click on subscribe. I'll be in daily doing this. And if you subscribe, you'll be able to see and get notification when I go live in advance. If you have a stock or a question, if you have a stock that you want me to go and check out, or you have a question regarding any of these things that I'm going through, you can do the same. Click subscribe, jump onto my community page, and you can either vote in one of the polls or leave a comment on this video or the latest one. If you want to watch through any of the previous videos of this series or anything like that, you can check those out in the link. And otherwise, check out this next video because YouTube thinks you'll like it up here. Cheers.